Congressional Democrats are divided after the House Republican Party narrowly passed legislation to raise the U.S. debt ceiling last week. Lawmakers are now raising concerns that the proposal could cut veterans programs and benefits. Scott MacFarlane has the latest from Capitol Hill.
The Senate Budget Committee will have a hearing Thursday in which Democrats are expected to blast the recently passed U.S. House debt ceiling bill. They're calling to testify an economist, an environmentalist, a renewable energy expert as well. There are no veterans groups listed yet. But that's noteworthy because as Monday progressed, the issue of veterans benefits and veterans medical care became a volatile wedge issue in this debt ceiling standoff. The Biden administration, through the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and Democrats in Congress, accused Republicans of allowing veteran services to be cut, medical care access to be reduced, benefits to be delayed through the bill that passed in the U.S. House. As Monday progressed, Republicans pushed back, saying that's untrue and that veterans' benefits and care will be preserved. But that's where we are with just weeks until the deadline. Both sides just digging in deeper, including with a hearing in the Senate Thursday morning. Caitlin?
All right, Scott MacFarlane on Capitol Hill, thank you. And for more on this, I'm going to bring in Ed and Bob because we have some breaking news on a couple of fronts. First, we have the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, saying that by early June, they're not going to be able to pay their bills as early as June 1st. So that's kind of the deadline for the debt ceiling that we're looking at right now. The president has called Speaker Kevin McCarthy, asking him to meet about the debt limit deadline, and that he's also going to be calling other congressional leaders. He's, of course, in Jerusalem right now, Kevin McCarthy is. But, Ed, I mean, this has been the big question that we had going into today was now that the House passed a bill saying, look, we've done our job, we want to meet with you, Mr. President. There were all these questions about whether he would. The White House has been pretty dug in, saying they're not negotiating on anything except a clean debt limit increase. Right. What do you make of this new reporting that has literally just come out?
And we're working, there will be more on this shortly, I'm told, by somebody at the White House.
Real-time reporting right there on your phone.
It's not surprising that the president is now willing to at least start talking about having another meeting, as pedantic as that may seem. Because what had he been saying? Show me your budget, I'll show you mine, and then we can talk. So in essence, by passing that debt limit increase, which is going nowhere in the Senate, they have put their cards on the table and said, this is what we would do. The president has put forward his budget plan, which he would argue is also separate from the debt limit bill regardless. So in essence, they can start having a conversation now this far apart to try to get to here, according to the Treasury Department now, by June 1. There's expected to be another influx of money come around mid-June from a lot of corporate tax payments that are expected. The other issue I've been told in recent days is, a big chunk of the country doesn't have to pay their taxes by last month because of disasters. There have been extensions put in place for parts of Florida and California, so there's not much revenue coming in. But there had been a lot of questions about how long is this going to take. So now, with a month to go, at least in the eyes of the Treasury Secretary, and only House and Senate in town for a few of those weeks, time to start having those meetings and seeing what exactly can be done. But he was also facing pressure from House Democrats especially, who said, now that we're on the record, we voted no for it, but the Republicans have done what you asked. It's time to have this meeting, and we'll see exactly how quickly it might happen.
And the big question facing the whole White House and the Republican leadership is, what are they going to do here? The White House wants a clean debt limit extension. The House Republicans want spending cuts or some kind of pledge on spending reductions budgetarily put forward. At this point, it's just a question of who's going to blink. Right. Can they come up with some kind of compromise where it doesn't look like it's a tax increase or a spending increase, but the White House is giving some concession on maybe spending levels and how they're going to transition over the next decade or 2 decades? This is really going to be an inside game of whether someone like Gene Sperling can talk to Brian Fitzpatrick, the congressman from Pennsylvania, the co-chair of the Problem Solvers, who can then talk to Kevin McCarthy, who can then talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and try to see, is there a coalition of conservatives, enough conservatives so it doesn't seem like McCarthy's selling out politically? Are there enough moderates in both parties to give this consensus agreement, should there be one, a path forward? Because it's not going to ever end up clean unless a lot of moderates come along. And maybe they do it if there's a deadline and there's no deal. The White House may be banking on the moderates saying, we're going to go with the Democrats. But ultimately, McCarthy would like to see some conservative buy-in. I'm really curious What's the real White House line on how far they're willing to go?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and look, if it's clean debt limit, but then we'll have a conversation about the budget. President probably wouldn't have an issue with cutting a budget deal now ahead of September.
So
or at
do
least
a
starting
ahead
it.
of-
Pass the
ahead of
debt limit
schedule.
extension, but then make a
Right.
deal on the budget.
Yeah.
That
Well,
could happen.
he's open to
as
that.
you both note, though, the calendar is really shrinking. Of course, we just have a month to go, and Congress is not here. So
Right.
we'll talk to you guys more about that.